All right. So a lot of people have asked me how they can help support me in the projects that I'm constantly doing. And so I decided to put together this Patreon page as a way for me to get support from people, assuming that you want to support me. The work that I feel called to be doing in the world has to do with creating open source, low cost, regenerative structures that are capable of meeting all human needs from sunlight alone forever for free. And so we're going to talk a little bit about how I intend to do that. Obviously, that's a really big goal, and it's not something that I'm going to be able to do all at once. But the reason that I'm committing to this project is because it's the thing that sort of all of my other projects seem to orbit around. It's the one idea that I can't really let go of, and it's really what I feel like I'm here to do. I've gotten to a point in my life where I have the time and energy to devote all of my time to just doing this. And what is missing for me is the resources coming in to keep the projects moving forward and to buy the materials and to test stuff, because a lot of the stuff that I want to do has been done in some capacity, but a lot of it has never been put together in the ways I wanted to put together, or it's just never been done before. And doing anything for the first time takes more resources than doing it for a second or third time, because every time you learn how to do things better. And that's sort of the exchange that I'm hoping to work out here, is like, I would like to go first, and I'd like to test stuff, and I'd like to have the resources coming in so that I can buy materials and I can test stuff and I can share the information that I learned from doing that to hopefully save people some time and energy. So share my mistakes and my successes. So let's start with, what is an open source biosphere? So the Earth itself is a biosphere. You are already living in a biosphere. It is a materially closed, energetically open system that is powered by sunlight, and all life on Earth is part of this reciprocal chemical relationship where complex molecules are built up by generally plants, and then they're consumed by animals, and then they're broken down by bacteria and fungi. And that reciprocal relationship, it's like rock, paper, scissors. It's like this, that, that, that. It's obviously more complicated than that, but that general pattern is present in all natural ecosystems. And humans can actually design ecosystems. We can design systems that mimic that same reciprocity, where the output of one species or process or animal is the input for another species or process or animal. And if you do that right, you can sort of close the circuit so that all the components are feeding off each other. And the reason that they're able to do that is because of the energy coming in from sunlight. And so, for example, aquaponics is the idea of growing fish with plants, so that the fish poop in the water, and then the plants take the fish poop and use it as fertilizer, which then cleans the water for the fish. That reciprocal relationship is just scratching the surface of what we can do with human-designed ecosystems. Tilapia, which are usually used in aquaponic systems, are an African river fish. And tomatoes, which are usually grown in aquaponic systems, are endemic to South America. But we can put them together and they still work because they have complementary inputs and outputs. So in a human-designed biosphere, we would take that idea just to the logical conclusion and make reciprocal cycles of plants and bacteria and fungi and animals, such that all of the systems interweave in a way that is powered only by sunlight. And I believe that this is fundamentally possible. It's just very difficult. And so here is the roadmap that I'm going to use to get there. The first thing that I want to do is I want to develop a online design tool that takes known inputs and outputs of known technologies like biodigesters and gasifiers and open source grow beds and all these little components that have all been designed by people around the world, and take the performance data that we know that we can expect from those things as inputs and outputs, and then make it so people can connect the inputs and outputs together like a game to try and make a balanced ecosystem. And I've been working on a prototype of this software, and but I would really like to have the resources to pay a developer. I've actually got a developer, my friend Michael, who is very interested in working on this, but obviously being able to dedicate yourself to a piece of software is hard to do as a volunteer. So if I were getting a little bit of money coming in every month, I would start working on developing that tool, a web resource that allows us to visually represent complex ecosystems made out of actual existing parts. And then from there, what I'd like to do is do a series of online design contests where we make very specific criteria. Like, for example, come up with a structure that is transparent to light, that is less than 6,000 square feet, that can be as easily built for as little money as possible, and that is transparent to light, but that is capable of containing as much heat and energy as possible, for example. And then we would let people post their potential designs, and then we would iterate on those designs to have higher and higher levels of specificity. So first you start with just like a sketch, and then you start with like a 3D model, and all the way down until you finally have a budget and a plan and structural designs and all that stuff. And basically there are these 5 categories that would need to be met to build an open source biosphere. Shelter, structure, food, water, energy, and waste, sanitation. All of those needs need to be met. And they all have different design criteria. And so I would like to run a series of design challenges where we just put all these pieces together as best we can using whatever technologies are available, and work them to the point where we have project plans and budgets and builds of materials for every single system and subsystem, the best we can put together. And then with that, I would like to throw a open source biosphere building festival. It would be about 250 people. It would be on private land, and it would be like a festival at the end of the summer, except what we would do during the day, every day, for about 4 to 6 weeks, is just build a biosphere. The idea is that we know that this has never been done before, that it's experimental, that it probably won't work in some way, but there's no way for us to know what ways won't work without trying it. So why not just get together and try it and see how it goes? I think that would be really fun, because I think for me personally, I've been yearning for, I really love the festival scene that happen on the West Coast in the summer, but I've been yearning for something a little bit more meaningful than just a big party. I want to do work, and I want to be connecting with people, and I want it to mean something. And then at night we can still dance and play music and hang out around the fire and eat food, like humans are meant to do. So I'm working towards this idea of throwing a festival called Biosphere 3. And I'd like to do that in the end of the summer of 2017, if everything goes according to plan. And then people would stay on that land for a year, and we would be live streaming our data and video to the internet in real time. So there would be a crew of 4 to 20 people sort of supporting the biosphere, either living in or around it, and just seeing what works and what doesn't and documenting it. So that can inform the next set of designs for Biosphere 4 in 2018, Biosphere 5 in 2019, and so on until we've actually built a stable, working, low-cost, modular, open-source biosphere that is capable of meeting all fundamental human needs from sunlight alone for forever without having to be hooked up to a electrical grid or food grid or really any kind of grid at all. It's just like freedom in a box. You can support yourself and your family on sunlight alone, basically anywhere in the world, with some very specific design challenges for each individual climate zone. But that is the fundamental idea of what I'm working towards. And the deal that I would like to make with people for supporting this Patreon page is this is the project that I am committing to for this point in my life. My next chapter is to build an open source biosphere one way or another. And so what I want to do is through Patreon, I can get a monthly amount of money, just from a bunch of people paying $5 or $10. And every month, at the beginning of the month, I will see how much money I made that month, and then I will make a project proposal of what I intend to do with that money, and how I see it working, and how it relates to the larger whole of the larger vision, so that I break my vision down into these small month-long chunks of things that I can tangibly do. And then I spend that whole month doing that project, and I'll post periodic update videos and such. And then at the end of every month, I will make a 5 to 10 minute reflection video where I talk about what I did, how it went, how I specifically used the money, and what I learned that would inform me doing it better if I were to do it all again, so that other people can learn from my mistakes. And that'll just go on in this iterative process every month. And the more people who are supporting me and the more people who are chipping in money, the more epic my projects can be. So yeah, I don't really want a lot of people to chip in a ton of money. If I could just get like 50 or 100 people chipping in $5 a month, that would be a huge amount of money, and I could do really cool stuff with it. And if you ever think that I'm no longer doing the thing, or like that I'm not posting videos, or that I'm slacking, I would totally encourage you to stop supporting me. But until that time, please support me and like let me do the work that I really feel like I'm here to do. Because I think that if open source biospheres were available to everyone in the world, at least the information, and made it as easy as possible for anyone to build, I think it would have really far-reaching implications. The idea of having a human society that is more abundant and more robust and like more alive and thriving every year is what I want to create. I want to create something that means something. This is the project that I feel just is the thing for me. I'm not saying is the thing for everyone, but this is the work that I feel like I'm here on this planet to do. So if you have monetary resources and you're able to contribute them to help me do that work, I would really be forever grateful. And if you don't, obviously just get in contact with me. If you want to volunteer, if you're a programmer particularly, and you want to help me with that design software, that would be really helpful. If you have land, if you have particular skills or interests, or you just want to follow along with what I'm doing. Everything that I'm doing is open source. I'm not going to make anything closed, like just for backers. I want people to back me just because they see the information that I'm constantly churning out is useful. And the more people who are supporting me, the more useful information I can make. I want to make disruptively useful information available for free. But obviously making that information available, creating that information, doing the design is not free. So the more people I can get supporting me to do this work, the more powerfully I can do that work, and the quicker we can create a system that allows people to meet their fundamental needs from sunlight for forever, hopefully. So thanks for listening, and I hope you'll support me.